Hello and welcome to the Excel 4 SAM Projects tutorial video. Begin by logging into the sam2010.course.com website using the username and password provided by your instructor. Click on SAM Assignments and select the Excel 4 link. This page, both for the assignments and the reports page, only shows 10 items per page, so you might have to click on page 2 or even page 3 to find the item. Excel 4 is right there. 5 attempts. Click on OK and you'll have the page that downloads the instructions and your start file. Let's download and open our instructions document. So there's our instructions document. You can see this. I'll say enable editing. I can see this has a lot of steps in it, a lot of information in it. Step 1 is the same though. It's download the student name _1 and save it as student name _2. So let's go back to the web browser. Let's open up the enable editing. Open up the student name _1 file and save file, save as onto the desktop _2. So now I have this file saved on my desktop. Let's go back to my instructions. We go make sure yes the name is there on B4, so step 1 is complete. Step 2, switch to sheet 1 in cell K1, and I will do as we typically do on these things, is I will make this all fit on the screen so that I can see it a little easier. Switch to sheet 1 in cell K1, which is right here. Enter 0.96 as the repayment rate. This project, if we didn't notice on the project here, what we're doing is we're creating Small World Microloans, a non-profit organization where people give small investments to third world countries, and this spreadsheet is going to do a financial analysis of loans made over the past 5 years. So that's what we're doing with this project. So step 2 makes a little more sense here in this, the repayment rate of those loans. So you're getting a 96% or 0.96 repayment rate on our loans. In cell K2, enter the value 0.68. That is the percentage of women entrepreneurs being funded. So over half of the small world microloans that are being given out are being given to women entrepreneurs in these third world countries, according to the data. Step 3, make the and by the way, these numbers we see here in column H, it's telling us that data, repayment rate and women entrepreneurs. Okay, step 3, make the formatting changes summarized in table 1.1 to make the worksheet attractive and easy to read. So we've got a number of formatting actions that we're doing here. I'm going to make this instruction file a little bit smaller so it's easier to see. Use my screen real estate slightly better, and we'll make these changes here. Okay, A1 and A2 have title style, so let's go back here. I'm also going to minimize this window a little more. I've got it down to 90% in my zoom rate so I can see things a little bit better. I still can't see everything that I want to see, but I can see enough. A1, A2, so those are going to have title, cell style, which is just off the screen there, but it was a cell style title you can see was selected. Calibri is my font, so I'll select Calibri as my font. You know, I realize that there's a Calibri up here as well with the body heading, but really that's not Calibri font, that's actually the theme font. As I change the theme, this heading and this body will change, so I went down to Calibri in the alphabetical list below. So I've fixed, and you notice this doesn't say Calibri theme font, it just says Calibri. And 16 point. So we'll change this to 16 point. Okay. Cell C2, let's format cell C2 to have the 03-1401 date format. Now here's a date, but I want to have a specific date format, so if I click on the lower right hand corner of the number group, I'll get the Format Cells dialog box, and I can choose in this date option. I can go into some more specific choices here, including the what I want to be is the 03-1401 option, which is right there. Oops, it's right there. 03, the difference being the 0 in front of the 3. So the month is 2 digits. Okay, so now that's formatted using that format style. H1J1 and H2J2, these ranges, H1J1 and I have to merge those cells, italicize, and right align, and then do the same thing for H2J2. Merge, italicize, right align. K1 and K2. So K1 and K2, those two cells are going to have percent style format. And there's the percent style format and no decimal places. So I will decrease decimal places so that they have no decimal places, and it looks like they have no decimal places. And then each of these are going to be merged and centered. So let's go back to B3, C3D3, merge and center, EFG, merge and center, HIJ, merge and center, KLM, merge and center. A3M3 has the accent 1 cell style. So A3 all the way through M3, that whole thing has the cell style accent 1. A4M4, A4 all the way through M4 has the cell style 60% accent 1 and a center alignment. 60% accent 1 and a center alignment. Okay, so that was a lot of formatting in that one step, but we got it all done, I think. Step 4, in cell B7. So this is cell B7. In cell B7, enter a formula that calculates the number of loans made in Ghana per donor, and divide the number of loans. A hint here: divide the number of loans in cell B5. So here's the country we're talking about, the city, and here is I'm sorry, reading this again. Divide the number of loans made in B5, okay, by the number of donors in B6. So equals B5 divided by B6. Okay. Loans per donors. And quick eyeball check, that makes sense. There were 85 loans. There were 30 donors. So it's about 3 loans per donor. Copy the formula in B7 to the range C7N7 to calculate loans per donors for Kenya and all the other countries. Go through all the other countries through Peru, and I've got those in there. Now these are they're not exactly 3. They probably have some decimal places, but maybe we'll format those later, maybe we won't, but the values are correct. In cell B13, so let's go down to B13. In cell B13, enter a formula using the sum function to calculate the total amount loaned to Ghanaian entrepreneurs in 2009 to 2013. So I want to sum the 2009 through 2013 amounts loaned for this particular country. Okay, so I'll use sum, and I will sum up those values, right parenthesis to end, and then it says to copy the formula in B13 over to M13. Great. Making good progress here. Step 6. Step 6 says, in cell B14, enter a formula that calculates the average amount of a loan to Ghanaian entrepreneurs. Divide the total amount of loans in B13 by the number of loans in B5. So the total, B13, total amount loaned by the number of loaners. And that will give me the average loan. And then copy that from B14 through CM14. In cell B15, let's go back to B15. Here we want to calculate the average function, or enter a formula using the average function that calculates the average amount loaned from 2009 to 2013. So use the average function for the 2009 to 2013, yes, 2009-2013 data. Write parenthesis to close, and then take that value and copy it over to M15. Step 8. In cell B16, go back to B16, enter a formula using the max function that calculates the maximum amount loaned in Ghana from 2009 to 2013. So use the max function, 2009-2013, the maximum loan during that time, 3570, and I can eyeball confirm that that's larger than 3434 or any of the other values, so that's correct. And then copy that over to M16. Step 9. In cell B17, use the min function to calculate the minimum amount loaned in Ghana from 2009-2013. So this is going to be the min function. Left parenthesis, the 2009-2013 data is that range, right parenthesis. And a quick eyeball check, 1870 is the smallest of those 5 values, so that's good. Drag that to the right into the M column. Step 10. In cell B18, okay, so that's right where I want to be, in cell B18, enter a formula that calculates the amount of money loaned to Ghana in 2013 that the small world microloans can expect to be repaid. Now remember that the repayment rate was something we entered, I think, in step 2. In the formula, use a relative reference to the loan amount in B12 and an absolute reference to the repayment rate in cell K1. Copy the formula in B18 to C18, M18. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to forecast repayments in 2013, and we're going to do that by figuring out the value in B12, which was the 2013 amount loaned, and we get a repayment rate of some value that's fixed in cell K1 back here. If you remember K1, 96% of the loans are repaid. So I'm going to say that I'm going to calculate this, but it's going to be 96%, slightly less than 100% of 3,570. So it's going to be 3,400 or something like that. So I want to say equals the 2013 loan amount times K1, which is that repayment rate, and it's 3427. Now the thing that I want to do before I copy this formula is I want to make that K1 an absolute reference, because as I copy across, I want to do 96% of $5,500, 96% or 7% or whatever the percent is. What's the percent? Yeah, 96%. So I want to get 96% of this amount, and then 96% of this amount, and this amount, and this amount. So these are moving as I go across, but the 96% is fixed. So that's why the K1 is an absolute reference with dollar signs. So I've got the value showing up in the cell that I want it to show up in. I can grab the handle at the right hand side and I can drag it across, and I can see that it's correct. In a quick eyeball check, I'll double click on the middle of one of these cells, and I'm saying, so the payment for this particular loan for this particular country in 2013, and 96% of that is just slightly less, and that looks about correct. Step 11. Apply the number format accounting to the range B8M8 and B13M18. So I can do these as two selected values at the same time or one at a time. I'll just do them one at a time. B8M8. So B8M8 is this range. So I'll select that and I'll apply the accounting, number format accounting. So I'm applying the accounting from the drop-down list for that. And then I want to apply the same thing to B13M18. So B13 is right here. M18 goes all the way down to here. Drop-down list, accounting. Apply the style format comma to the range B9M12. So right here in the middle of these, B9 over to M12. So here we're going to use the comma, style format comma. And it's not an option there. I can do comma style there, and we get what we want to, clicking on the comma icon. And those values line up and look good for us. Change the font color of the values in the range B13M13 to blue accent 1. B13M13. So B13M13. Make sure I have these selected right. Select the right range. Yes. And then I want to change the font color, which is here in the home group, in the font area, font color to be blue accent 1. So it's the first of these. Oops. The first of these. The last 6 are accents. And the first one is accent 1, accent 2, accent 3. So I select accent 1, which is blue for the current theme. Bold the values. So for the same selected range, I want to also bold those values. And add a top and thick bottom border to that same range, B13M13. So the top and thick bottom border is one of the list options here in my border drop-down. I don't want to click on this, but I actually want to click the drop-down list. And I can see my choices here, and here is top and thick bottom border is an option that I'm applying to the selected range B13M13. Add a right border to A3, A18. So let's select A3, A18. Okay, so that range is selected. I want to apply a right border. So again, I will, from the drop-down list here, I will find right border, and there's right border. I also want to apply a right border to the range B3, D18, which is right here, B3, D18. Apply the right border. And E3, G18. Right border. H3, J18. And finally, K3, M18. Step 14 says, for the range B14, M14. So the range B14, which is right here, over to M14. So this range, this selected range, for the range B14, M14, apply a conditional formatting using the gradient fill blue data bars to show the variation in average loan amount. So I want to do for this selected range, and I have the correct range selected. I want to do conditional formatting, gradient fill blue data bars. So conditional formatting, data bars is one of our options here, and there's a gradient fill group and a solid fill group. I want to do the gradient fill group, and there's a blue data bar, and then there is a light blue data bar, and the instructions say to do the blue data bars from the gradient field, so I will apply that. So that gives us a visual summary of how those numbers relate to each other. For the range B15, M15, so let's go here to B15, M15. This is the one directly below. Apply conditional formatting using the gradient field green data bars. Conditional formatting, data bars, gradient, green data bars. Step 15. Make the formatting changes summarized in Table 1-2 to format the ranges B20, E25, and H20, K25. So again, I'm going to need a little bit of space here to see what I'm doing. So let's come down here. Row 20. So here's row 20. Height set to 30 points. So I can right click this, say row height, and I can specify the row height to be 30 points. B20 to E20, B20 to E20, so there's that range. I want to do a merge and center. And then want to do fill color. So here's my fill color, and I'm going to specify the fill color to be blue accent 1 lighter 60%. So here's my accent 1, and I'll go to the lighter 80%, lighter 80%. And I will use a heading 2 cell style. So on the cell style, I will select heading 2. And I want to do that same thing to the range H20, K20. So I go here to H20, K20, and I want to apply the same styles there. So H20, K20, I want to say merge and center. I want to say blue accent 1 lighter 60%, lighter 80%, and heading 2 style. And now I'm doing this part, which is B21, B25. So B21 to B25, this area is an accent 1 cell style. Make it bold, merge and center, and then rotate up 90 degrees. So I can select rotate text up, which will be rotated up 90 degrees. Now, if I'm not completely sure about that, I can click the little dialog box in the bottom right hand corner, and I can see that it is, the text is pointing up and it is set to 90 degrees. So that just confirms I did my rotate up correctly. I want to do the same thing to H21, H25. So here's H21 to H25 is selected, and apply those same things. Cell style, accent 1, bold, merge and center, rotate up 90 degrees. C21 to C25. So here's C21 to C25. So for this group, I'm going to say 60% accent 1 cell style. 60% accent 1. I also want to do that for D21 and to E21. D21, E21 gets the 60% accent style, accent 1 style. And I21 to I25, and I'm going to hit the control key and select both of those at the same time, J21 and K21, 60% accent style. E22, E25, so E22 to E25, this column right here is going to have the currency format. Dollar symbol, no decimal places. And I'll just verify that. Pulling up the edit dialog box, I want no decimal places, $ symbol. Okay, so that's applied there, and I want to do the same thing for K22, K25. K22, K25. Currency, no decimal places, $. Okay. Step 16. In cell D22, enter a formula to calculate the total number of loans made in Africa. These values appear in B5, C5, and D5. So B5, C5, and D5, those are the total number of loans made in Africa, the 3 countries in Africa in question. And I want to sum those according to step 16. In D22, I want to get the sum of those. So I will say equals the sum of B5 colon D5. Now this little icon up here is telling me that little, you see that green triangle in the upper left hand corner of this cell, and there's a little hint here. It's telling me that the formula omits adjacent cells. It's telling me that this formula, where I added these values, that I didn't go ahead and add the value E right next to it. It's just kind of a heads up. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but it's just a heads up that we want to look at that. And I'm going to leave that little hint in there. It's not bothering me. I've done what they're asking me to do in these instructions. In the range D23, D25, so in the range D23, D25, calculate the total number of loans for Asia, Europe, and Latin America, respectively. So this is equal to the sum of Asia, right parenthesis, equal the sum of Europe, right parenthesis, and equal the sum of Latin America, right parenthesis. In cell E22. Okay, so here's cell E22. Enter a formula that calculates the total amount of loans made in Africa. These values appear in B13, C13, and D13. So going back to my sheet, B13, C13, and D13. By the way, this little pound symbol is telling me that the text isn't displaying. That has to do with just my zoom size, because I had it zoomed in there. It was having trouble resizing that window. But if the width of the column is not enough to show numeric data, it gives you those pound signs blocking that. But there was that was just because I was at 80% and the column width was just enough that it couldn't quite display. I'm now doing step 17, which says I want to get the calculate the total amount of loans made for Africa, which are these 3 values. So I've got in Africa, which is columns B, C, and D. I've got my total amount loaned, which is in 13. So B13, C13, D13. I want to calculate those values in E32, E22. So E22 is the sum of B13 colon D13. In the range E23, E24, and E25, do the same for Asia, Europe, and Latin America. So this is equal to the sum of these values equal to the sum of, and again it's hard to see on my screen here because I don't have tons and tons of screen real estate, but now I'm getting the sum. Here's Europe, here's those 3 cells, H, I, and J in column 13 are my Europe sum, and the Latin America sums are K, L, M for 13, so I can equal that sum, K, L, M. Alright, back to our instructions. In the range J22, J25, so J22, J25, so now we're over here. Enter formulas that multiply the total number of loans for each region from the ranges D25 to D22 to D25, which is over here. So I've calculated the total number of loans for the 4 regions. Now I'm going to multiply those percentages by the number of women entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and that's going to tell me how many of these loans were made to women. So I'm going to say that for Africa, the number of loans made to women is the total number of loans for Africa times the percentage of entrepreneurs who are female, which is K2. So that's telling me that of the 277 loans that were made, 188 of those were made to women, approximately based on our percentage. Now, when we use this formula, we have a hint, use an absolute reference so that we can copy this formula. So I'm going to take this reference to the female percentage entrepreneurs, and I'm going to make that an absolute reference. Now I can copy that formula. Inner formula is to multiply the total number so this is K22 to K25, so I've done it for K22. Oops, that's a K or J22? Sorry, J22 to J25, total number of loans made to women entrepreneurs. So I've done it for J22. I've used an absolute reference so I can copy that formula. And again, I can see that the Europe is referring to the Europe total times the absolute reference to K2, which is my percentage of female entrepreneurs. Okay, so that takes care of step 18. Now I'm on to step 19. K22 to K25, inner formulas to multiply the total amount of money loaned in each region by the percentage of women entrepreneurs. So a similar thing, I'm going to take the amount of money loaned total for Africa, and I'm going to multiply that by my female entrepreneurs percentage, which is K2. I'm going to take that K2 value, I'm going to make an absolute reference out of it, so that I can then copy it with the absolute reference value still staying K2 even as I move down from region to region in my copied cells. Step 20, apply an outside border to the ranges B20, E25. So B20, E25, for that range that I now have selected, apply an outside border. So I will select and find outside borders. There it is. And H20, K25, which I think is right here. H20, K25, an outside border. Increase the width of column C and I to 12 characters. So C, change the column width to 12, and I, change the column width to 12. Insert a new row 27. So let's come down here, and we will say insert. So I've inserted a new row 27. Enter the following text in A27. I will enter my text up here. Asterisk based on current repayment rate. And I do need to include that asterisk, I'm pretty sure. It's in the instructions there, so I'll include it. Step 23, select the ranges A4, M4 and A13, M13. So I want to select it at the same time. Oops. I typed this in the wrong cell. I just noticed this. I did A27. I wasn't scrolled all the way over, so I'm going to move that there. Sorry, I apologize. I wasn't scrolled all the way to the left. So that star based on current repayment rate is in cell A27. Now I'm selecting the ranges A4, M4 and A13, M13 at the same time, and then creating a 3D clustered column chart. So let me select at the same time A4 to M4, and then with that selected, whoops, so A4 to M4 is selected, and then while that's selected I'm going to hold down the control key and select A13, M13. So here's, hold down the control key, A13, M13. So I've got basically the labels and the data. And I'm going to insert a 3D clustered column chart. So insert column. In the 3D category, the very first item is 3D clustered column. And I get this chart. So insert this chart from the selected ranges to show the total amounts loaned in each country from 2009 to 2013. Move the chart to a new sheet named Loan Totals. And there's a hint on the Move Chart button. Choose New Sheet. So when this is selected, when the chart is selected, I have a Chart Tools Design, Layout, and Format tabs available. And in the Design group, there is a Move Chart button. And selecting Move Chart, I can select New Sheet. And in New Sheet, I can name the sheet Loan Totals. Okay, apply style 32 to the chart. So in the chart, I'm going to apply style 32, and I'm not sure which one that is. So there's style 32. So I've applied style 32 to the chart. Oops, style 34. Sorry, I misread that. And style 34 is right there. So I applied style 34 to the chart. And then remove the legend. So in the layout option, I have things like title and axis and legend. And I'm going to go under legend option. I'm going to say none. So the legend has been removed. Enter the chart title to be total amount loaned 2009 to 2013. So the default chart title is total amount loaned. And I'm going to click in there to edit it. And then I'm going to scroll over to the right, or use the right arrow to move to the right. And I'm going to change this total amount loaned 2009-2013. Rename sheet 1 to statistics. So here's sheet 1. I'll right click and rename. I'll call this statistics. Press enter to accept that value. Step 26. Move the loan totals chart sheet so that it becomes the last sheet in the workbook. Loan totals chart sheet, so it's the last sheet, and you do that by actually dragging and then dropping it, so it's the last sheet in the workbook. This isn't a sheet, this little icon with the worksheet and a little glowing in the upper left hand corner, that's not a sheet. That actually would be clicked to create new sheets. So there are 3 sheets, and the loan total is the last sheet in the workbook. Add a header to the statistics worksheet that displays the current time in the center of each page. So back on the statistics worksheet, I want to add a header. So I'm going to, on my page layout, under View, I'm going to say View Page Layout, and that gives me the ability to see the headers. So that's under the View tab. Instead of doing normal view, I'm going to do page layout view. You can kind of see I've got rulers here on the rows and columns, and I can see the 3 areas of the header, the left, center, and right header. And our instructions say to add a header to the statistics worksheet that displays the current time in the center of each page. So in the center of each page, I want to display the current time. Now, in the ribbon, you'll notice that I have a special header and footer design tab, and I have a number of options that I can add to my header, including the current time, and I'll simply select current time there, and it puts this special symbol at, and then in square brackets the word time, but that will be interpreted by Excel to give us the current time on the sheet. So it's not the time that it's created, but it actually will be the current time as it's being viewed on each page. Okay, so we're done with this. I can go back to my view option, go back to normal view. Whoops. Just clicked. So I just clicked off of the ribbon there. You see the clock on my computer right now is set to 2:51 a.m. That may not be correct, but it's reflecting the time not of global international standard, but the time of the PC that the machine is running on a different machine with a different internal clock, and you'll get a different time there. So we've added the header. We're ready to change the orientation of the statistics worksheet to be landscape. So here's the statistics worksheet, the page layout orientation. Make this landscape. Change the margins of the statistics worksheet to be wide. So I'm on the statistics worksheet. I want the margins, instead of normal, I'm going to make it wide. Check the spelling and grammar in the statistics worksheet, making corrections as appropriate. So now I'm going to go through this statistics worksheet. I'm going to check the spelling and grammar. Nothing stands out. I'm eyeballing this. I'm looking for things that look spelled incorrectly. I don't see anything. So an eyeball check did not show anything. I'll go ahead and do a review spell check, see if that shows anything. The selected cell didn't have any problem. Continue from the beginning of the sheet, yes. And let's see here. So I didn't notice statistics. Statistics. So there's a slight extra I in there. So I want to use this statistics. Maximum. There's a typo there. So I'm glad I'm using the auto tool because I didn't notice that when I was doing my eyeball check. I want minimum to be spelled correctly with an I instead of an A. So spell check is complete. Okay, great. So we've done all of our work. We've done a lot here. I won't be necessarily expecting a perfect score on this first attempt, but hopefully we'll get a pretty good score. So we've saved that work. We've closed it. Let's go here and let's upload our work. Now the one I'm uploading, and again I can verify the name, it begins with a CS. Okay, so Charlie Sam is the prefix I'm looking for. Charlie Sam with Clark Griswold _2. So I submit that, 3 check marks, and then we'll have to wait a little bit to see how we did on this very long Excel 4 project. And here's our submission. Let's see how we did. 93, not bad. It was a long project, a lot of room for typos and mistakes. So we missed step 15 and step 22. 2 steps was wrong. That's not bad. 2 steps were wrong, I should say. That's not bad. Cell number format should be currency using the dollar symbol with no decimal places in K22, 23, 24, 25. And font should be italic. When I typed in the star based on current repayment rate, I was supposed to use italic there in A27. So that's pretty easy. Let me go back to view, normal view. It's a little easier to see these things. So this text is supposed to be italic, and I can see the little hint there telling me exactly what it's supposed to be. And then the other part was K22 over here. This text was supposed to have currency using dollar symbol and no decimal places. And as I look at that, I can actually see that I have decimal places, 2 decimal places. Okay, well, that's should be easy to fix. So I'm going to close that without saving. I'm going to go back to Excel, pull up from my recents my CS Charlie Sam solution file. Again, view this in normal mode, a little easier to work with. So this value was supposed to be italics, and these values were supposed to have 0 decimal places. Currency symbol supposed to be 0 decimal places. Okay, easy enough. Save, close, and resubmit. Let's go to Excel 4. I feel pretty good about this. So we're going to resubmit this. Make sure I get the right name. CS Charlie Sam. Submit. And 3 check marks. And again, just a little waiting, and then we'll have it. So there's our second attempt. It's gone through. See our results. Hopefully, we're going to get 100 out of 100. And we did. So there is our Excel 4 project. Have a good day.